Okay, this is our last part of this lesson, but we're going to be going through and comparing proportional relationships. So now they're going to be giving us two scenarios and asking us questions about that. So here, the scenario, we have ski lifts. So we have a 4-person ski lift and a two-person ski lift. It says the distance y in meters that a 4-person ski lift travels in x seconds is represented by the equation y equals 2.5x. Okay, so that is our equation for a 4-person ski lift. So I'm going to go ahead and write that one down here. Y equals 2.5, and that would be meters per x, which is seconds. Okay, so 2.5 meters per second is what that's really telling us, okay? So it says the graph shows the distance that a 2-person ski lift travels. So we need to be able to go through and figure out what our equation is off of that. So in turn, we have to go through and figure out what our speed is. Okay, so we're gonna pick a point. It does not matter which point we pick. I'll just use this one that's the smallest point. Okay, we're gonna substitute in. Remember, our equation is y equals mx. Okay, we're gonna substitute in our y and our x and solve to find out what m is, kind of like we did in the previous part of the lesson. So I'm just gonna use this set of coordinates. I don't have to use both, I could use either of them. So I'm gonna substitute in. This is my x, this is my y. Okay, so where my y is, I'm gonna put a 4 equals m. And where my x is, I'm gonna put a 2. Okay, so I wanna work to get that m by itself. So I would divide by 2, m equals 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, so my equation is y equals, I just found out that m is 2, so I'm gonna put a 2 where m is, and then my x. Okay, so there's working to get our equation written. So it asks us which ski lift is faster. So once again, let's interpret what this means. Well, we set up here that this meant that ski lift was traveling at 2.5 meters per second. This one is traveling at 2 meters per second. So which one's faster? Which one has a bigger slope number or decimal number right next to that x? Well, that would be the 4-person ski lift. So that one's actually traveling faster. Letter B says graph the equation that represents the 4-person lift in the same coordinate plane as the 2-person lift. So they've already done the 2-person graphing. This one's already been graphed. We're gonna go ahead and graph the 4-person. Okay, so as we get into future lessons, you'll learn a much faster way to graph this. But we're gonna have to go ahead and plot a couple different points. So let's pick our x's to do this. So we're going to pick some x's. So let's do 0. 2.5 would be like 2.5, right? So let's use, since it would be 2.5, let's use multiples of 2 just so that it's easy to graph. Because when I think of it, remember 2.5, I want to use the bottom number for my multiples. So we're going to do 2 and 4. That way I don't have to worry about trying to graph in the middle of a box. Okay, not that you can't do that. It's just easier to have an exact point. Okay, so if I were to go through and do this, now you can use a calculator to solve here. So I'm going to go ahead and punch in 2.5 times 0, which is going to give me 0. 2.5 times 2, and I know slope you're not used to working with as a decimal. It can be. So 2.5 times 2 is 5. And then 2.5 times 4 would give me 10. So I'm going to go ahead and graph these sets of coordinates. Over to 0, up to 0. Over to 2, up to 5. So I do have to go in the middle of a box, unfortunately, but that's pretty easy. And then over to 4, up to 10, over to 4, up to 10. So now if I connect my dots, put my arrow on the end, you can visually see this was our 2-person right here. This black line is our 4-person. You can now visually see that 4-person one is going to get much further over the same amount of time as our 2-person. You can see that in the graphing. It says, compare the steepness of the graphs. What does this mean in context to the problem? So the steeper the slope, like our black line there, the steeper that 4-person slope was, the faster the speed is in this scenario. Okay, that's this part of the lesson. Good luck.